everybody, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and for my horror movie superlative series that Carl and I collaborate on, we are tackling 2004 today, picking out our horror movie superlatives for the following categories: most amazing, best so bad it's good, most WTF, best score, most unique, most overrated, and most underrated. It's a lot of fun. We've already done this for the entire decades of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. I'll put a card up here for you to check those out. It's a good time. We do use Letterboxd to see what list of horror movies came out each year. And just like with the debate series, if you like to, after you watch my video, you can go to Carlin's channel, have a link in the description down below, watch his video with the same title. And then if you like, you can go to the community tab in his page and vote on who you thought had the better picks. And don't forget to let us know what your picks are in the comments down below. It's a lot of fun just since we're all talking horror movies. So let's get started. Let's pick out my horror movie superlatives for 2004. And my pick for most amazing, which probably would be on a lot of people's list, Saw. It's the first film in a franchise that now has 10 films in its library. The movie has one of the best endings in a horror movie for the last 25 years. Hands down, definitely one of the best. No one saw that ending coming with John Kramer, Jigsaw, rising up from the floor after pretending to be dead for the entire film. You know, everything we just witnessed was all part of his plan. I think there was very clever writing in this movie with the great cast. You had Danny Glover as Detective Tapp, the dreaded Pirate Roberts as Dr. Gordon, Lee Winnell, who's one of the writers of this movie, as Adam, and Shawnee Smith as Amanda. Everything in this movie was so carefully crafted, you know, like all little small pieces of a large puzzle. You know, probably makes sense because the movie's called Saw and his name was Jigsaw. You know, you watch one person in this trap and it makes you wonder, like, what would I do in this situation? Could I get out of this trap? When that happens, it kind of brings you further into the movie. It makes you more invested in it. And I really think Saw is very successful with doing that. Now, some of the sequels nowhere reach the quality of this film. This is probably the best film in the franchise. I don't think there's any films can top this one. Even though some of the sequels dipped in quality, it doesn't take away from how amazing this movie is. You know, now, thanks to this film, Jigsaw stands among other horror villains such as Jason, Michael, Chucky, and Freddy. He's right up there with them. Saw combined like psychological horror with a mystery thriller, and I think it was a kind of a fresh take on the trapped in a room subgenre. Even though there are multiple time jumps with a bunch of flashbacks, this like non-linear type of storytelling never loses the audience. In fact, it keeps you engaged as you're trying to figure everything out. And it just leaves us with one question.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
For my best so bad it's good, that goes to Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. You get two B-movie franchises squaring off with killer dolls. The title just sounds like it's going to be a so bad it's good movie. You got the absurdity of tiny evil puppets fighting demonic toys. To me, that's just kind of pure gold. The concept alone is really outlandish, and it just turns from horror into unintentional comedy. Plus, you have Corey Feldman playing Robert Toulon, the great grandnephew of Andre Toulon. Now, I guess he's supposed to be old in this film since his hair is whitened and he talks in a gruff voice, so he's automatically supposed to be really older. The demon in this film also looks funny, like they just got a mask from Spirit Halloween. The film is a standalone. It's not in the continuity of either Puppet Master or Demonic Toys. The budget is low, and neither the puppets nor the toys look that great, but that kind of adds to this so bad it's good charm of the film. The plot involves a pact with the demon, so the main bad person in this film wants to get a bunch of demonic toys to commit acts of murder around Christmas time. But only the descendant of Andre Toulon, you know, could help fix this issue. It's just really wacky and nonsensical, but it's filled with cheesy, over-the-top dialogue. There's a good number of laughs in this film, and you're going to know what you're in for. Just like I said, it's called Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. It embodies everything that makes a so bad it's good movie enjoyable. Bad acting, nonsensical plot, laughable effects, and a premise really outrageous, but you just can't help but love it. And for my most WTF film, Murder Set Pieces. This is a disturbing movie, not for the squeamish. If you're unfamiliar with this movie, it's about a psychopathic photographer who lives in Las Vegas, and he's got this deep obsession with violence, sadism, misogyny, murder. Yeah, he's a serial killer who targets women, he captures them, and he takes photographs of their suffering while he's torturing them. The film is filled with graphic violence, essay, a Nazi sympathizer, just a whole lot of WTF. There's really not much to the story. It's one of those films that has stuff in just to shock the viewer and not much else. Now, I normally like to show a little bit of clips here, but I really can't show much of the WTF in this film. You have to take my word for it because YouTube would destroy my channel. I can't say I really enjoyed this movie. It's not one I really ever want to watch again. Like I said, it's WTF with a lot of insane stuff in it that doesn't really make you feel comfortable at all. I do feel like this film went a little bit too far with the violence depicted in it, especially when it involves a young girl, and that's all I'm going to say on that. If you Google, like, what are some of the most disturbing movies out there, I'm confident Murder Set Pieces will show up on a good number of those lists. Can't say necessarily recommend this film, but it surely is filled with the most WTF stuff for 2004. The best score, I selected Toolbox Murders. This is a lesser known Tobe Hooper film, and everybody knows him from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Life Force, Eaten Alive. Now, if you haven't watched Toolbox Murders, it's a film definitely worth the watch. It's filled with gory, mean-spirited kills, but differently than Murder Set Pieces. It's about a young couple who move into a rundown apartment building where a killer's on the loose, killing people with tools from his toolbox. Even the set design in this film kind of adds to the gore aspect. I mean, the apartment building is old and dilapidated. Not some place you really want to live in, but it brings you into the film, makes you more invested. Has a kind of a scummy feel to it that kind of enhances the gore. The kills are something else in this movie. One victim gets hammered to death. One other woman gets nailed. Someone is drilled in back of the head. Character Louise has his hands nailed. Down and his face just melted with lye. Again, I can't show a lot of these scenes because YouTube would have an aneurysm on my channel. But when you have a film by genre legend Tobe Hooper, you can expect lots of inventive, gory kills. And this movie gives you exactly that. I may have to cover this movie on Downs in a Coffin one day, and I think it's going to be a fun one to cover. But until then, it's going to be my most gory horror film of 2004. Moving on to my most unique selection, I picked Three Extremes. I probably could have had this movie for most WTF pick as well. I had never seen a movie like this before. You got 3 segments in this film directed by some very well-known foreign directors. Dumplings, directed by Fruit Chan. That segment is just chilling. Ugh. Cut was directed by Park Chan-wook, known for directing Old Boy, one of my all-time favorite foreign horror films. And Box was directed by Takashi Miike, known for directing Ichi the Killer, Gozu, Visitor Q, and Audition. Films that Carlin and I both have had Takashi Miike films on our horror movie superlatives list. No surprise. I feel this anthology is unique because it really pushes the boundaries of the subject matter. It blends Hong Kong, South Korean, and Japanese filmmaking styles. It's another most unique pick of mine that I think delves more into the psychological aspect of horror rather than just shock and gore, but there is some of that into it. But the dreamlike visuals in this film really make it set apart, especially in Box. It's not something you see every day. The film doesn't follow your predictable tropes. It's got a unique narrative structure in the way it kind of subverts your expectations. And one thing that really sold it for me for most unique is the ambiguity of these stories leave you very unsettled. And the conclusions of these segments are open-ended. And it kind of makes it linger with the viewer and it sticks with you, unlike, most of the horror films of 2004. And it's a standout for me, which is why I picked it as my most unique. My most overrated pick, another controversial one that may ruffle some feathers. I tend to do that with my overrated picks. Dawn of the Dead. Not saying it's a bad movie, but it is a remake that can nowhere come close to the original. Zack Snyder's vision of the zombie apocalypse was intense. The opening segment was great, but it really drops off for me after there. Now, compared to George Romero's original, I think the remake kind of sacrifices that social commentary and character depth for more of an action-driven story. Here, the characters really just feel one-dimensional, little growth or any meaningful interaction. It kind of makes it hard to have any connection with them. The zombies in this film are fast-moving, and that while it does make the action, intense, it does take away from the dread and unease you get from the original. Now, anytime there's a remake, it's going to be heavily compared to the original. Romero's Dawn of the Dead is one of the greatest zombie movies ever made for a multitude of reasons. It's iconic for its critique on consumerism, using the mall setting as a metaphor for like mindless consumption. And you really don't get this with Snyder's version. Again, it's just more action. But you do get a zombie baby, which was kind of only inserted for the shock value, and you could see it coming right from the beginning, so it really wasn't that shocking as it was. But that's really all you get with this film is action scene after action scene with fat zombies and corny jokes. Didn't care about any of the characters. Dawn of the Dead from 2004 just feels a bit hollow with not any heart in it. You get predictable tropes as you do in every early 2000s horror film, including jump scares, over-the-top violence, and just predictability all around. Which is why I picked Dawn of the Dead as my most overrated selection for 2004. And wrapping things up with most underrated, Seed of Chucky. As if you didn't know, Child's Play is my favorite horror franchise, and Chucky is my favorite horror villain. I've had Chucky sitting behind me in every single one of my videos, and I do feel that Seed of Chucky is an excellent choice for most underrated. The movie gets a lot of hate. Now, I can admit, it's far from the best in the franchise, but I still enjoy this film. Tony Garner's special effects just look great. It was written and directed by the father of Chucky, Don Mancini. It was his passion project. It was important for him to make this film. People want to dump on the Glenn Glenda character, but I really have no problem with him or her. The kills in this movie are excellent. Chucky and Tiffany are evil as hell. They're both having a blast in Seed, and I just love their chemistry. It's what makes this movie so enjoyable for me. With the way Bride of Chucky ended, I felt you needed to focus on their Seed. As the Child's Play movies progress, they become more and more comedic. And I kind of think that works for Chucky, because Brad Dourif just kills this role.
Nobody leaves me. Nobody.
Hearing his laugh when he commits these horrific acts are just a blast. Jennifer Tilly's also excellent as Tiffany. She's vicious and motherly at the same time, and again, I find more of a charm to that. Seed of Chucky is a fun film. It's a little bit different than its predecessors, leaning more into meta comedy, but looking over all the horror films of 2004, Seed of Chucky was an easy pick for most underrated. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my horror movie superlatives for 2004. Here's a quick recap of my picks. Now don't forget to let Carl know what your picks are in the comments down below. And if you haven't done so already, please go to Carl's channel, link in the description down below. Watch his video with the same name. And then if you like, you can go to the community tab on his page and vote for who you thought had the better picks. See you here in 2 weeks for some more horror movie superlatives, where Carl and I tackle all the horror movies of 2005. Thanks everybody. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe on both of our channels. It really help us out. Just takes a moment. We really would appreciate it. Until next time, I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. Remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.